As an appendix to the capture series, I want to introduce you to a lens where I think it's very important to know this when you need big background plates for your scene and you need a high quality in it. Perhaps you have shot just with a fisheye or with a chrome sphere just to get the light into the scene. You miss out maybe the background exactly, and you want to move the camera in Cinema 4D a little bit around, so you need a nice and high resolution background for it. And this has nothing to do with 360-degree one time around. This is really when you know exactly what you want to see in the background, then a lens like this will help you. I have to tell that even in reviews, in books, and in many other areas, this lens is, to my understanding, not really understood at all. And the name itself maybe leads already to this misunderstanding. A tilt-shift lens. The tilt version is this round area here, and in this way it's swing and tilt when it's up and down. You can rotate this here. And I have flipped it here to the top side so you can see both. And then you have the shift part. And the shift part means you can move the camera to the left and the right. And there, normally, you can avoid these perspective lines that go very small to the top, so for architectural photography and so on. But this is not of any interest here at the moment, because we want to have, of course, a huge picture from the background. And one of the many uses of this lens, and I have nearly a handful of different ideas what to do and what I do with this lens, is the shift part to expand the sensor size. And that is the critical part here, to expand the sensor size. So in this way, it is a shift camera and not a shift lens anymore. Sounds weird? Let's have a look. Normally you move the lens 10 millimeters. I wouldn't go further because then the distortion is really unbearable, nearly. You move the lens perhaps up to 10 millimeters to the left, and then the camera 10 millimeters to the right. That brings the lens on the spot where it was before, but has moved the camera to the side. And you can shoot one time in the middle and one time to the other side. And that means as the nodal point is exactly in the middle and it stays there if you move it carefully and there's no movement back and forth, then all rays stay exactly the same. As this lens is not constructed to be a 35 millimeter lens, 35 in terms of sensor size, 24 by 36 millimeter, this is more a mid-size camera lens. And so the ray goes now here to this side and to this side, and you get already the point. It's like having the sensor nearly 50% longer. And you can do this, of course, also up and down. But there are limits, of course. In the way I use it here, and I will show you the results, you gain just quite some extra pixels. And the beauty of it is, there is no distortion needed to stitch these images, even if something is very close to the lens. There is no distortion. They just overlap, if done nicely and precise. Because the lens hasn't moved, so what the lens projects to this area here where the sensor is exactly matching. It's only extended to left and right. And if you are really in a hurry, you can do only this. One left, one right. Then the middle part of the picture might suffer a little bit. But if you want to have real quality, you go to the left, to the right, and so on. And these three pictures finally, even in HDRI, line up without any distortion. Just overlap them, and you can even stitch them by hand with a nice hand-drawn mask. I'll show you that in a sec. So here we have our first result and have this clay pot in mind, and see how it wanders now. And it goes to the middle and then more over the middle. These three pictures are finally the pictures that we got out of our shift the camera. And there is no parallax game in it or something like that. It's perhaps a little bit lens distortion, but you don't need to fix this because that would reduce the quality. And by the way, this lens, it's the 24 tilt shift from Canon. It's an L lens. It's the sharpest lens I have ever owned in my life because it's just for mid format, so it has a huge resolving power. And when you take this in mind, that you get more contrast and sharpness out of the picture, and then even a higher resolution, and let's have a look how much we have normally with one picture. It's 5616. Keep in mind, when we want to have, maybe let's pretend that this window here would be our camera view, maybe a little bit wider, that we get half of that. And we want to have a pan over one picture, and this picture would be our only image in the background. Then we could maybe move one HD frame from left to the right, and we would have in the first and in the last time nothing that we had in each of them. So we would have double HD here only. Maybe not really. 6000 would be maybe more appropriate, a little bit over 6. So not even twice HD pan would be here possible. Let's hop over to the merge one. And I have only copied and pasted here these images, and with setting this to difference, just line up. There's a little bit change because the lens has, of course, also some distortion. It's finally a 24mm lens for 35, and it's maybe more when you keep in mind that we get finally this out of it. But we don't have to care too much about, because it lines very nicely up, and the mask that we have to draw is pretty small. It's nearly no work at all if done precisely. So, and when I go now here to check my image size, we have here 8720. That is exactly 3104 pixels more than 50%. And we have not distorted any image here. Each pixel is as it was before, no mixing. And I think when I go here closer and closer, it's pretty sharp here, even at 100%. Now I'm at 400, sorry about that. But you see here at 100, it's very sharp, very detailed, and that is of course a little bit blown out here, but it's from an HDR shooting, and I took only one exposure here. Anyway, you see that we can have a background plate, and with a size of 8720, let's say roughly 9000 divided by 1.5 is 6000. It's roughly 3 times HD. When you move an HD, you can do it once in the middle and then here to the end. And that is pretty much exactly what I have in mind when we take a look to this window here. That's 3000 divided by 1.5. This is pretty much HD here. So I can move it here, and then here, and here, and I have nearly 3 times the option. That means I can pan my HD camera nicely along and have huge details here. This is of course just a side note, and with this idea here that we don't have to distort any image, I start now part number 3, and that's all about the pipeline, how we get finally images out of all our capture work. Thanks for staying tuned so far. I know it's a lot of stuff, and see you in the next part. Thanks for listening.